The concept of day and night is far more than a simple astronomical cycle. It is a fundamental element of human existence that shapes our biology, our societies, and our spiritual beliefs. While the alternation of light and darkness is a universal experience, its meaning and application are interpreted with profound depth across different cultures and faiths. This cyclical rhythm of our planet has not only governed our daily routines and work-rest patterns, but has also served as a powerful metaphor for life and death, good and evil, and the divine order of the universe. The following discussion will explore how this basic natural phenomenon is viewed through the lens of various religions, revealing the rich and complex ways in which spiritual traditions adapt to and interpret the world around them. How do the cycles of day and night shape human life and experience?
Of course, this is a profound question that moves beyond the literal 24-hour cycle into the heart of metaphor and human experience. The concept of days and nights in human lives is a powerful framework for understanding the cyclical nature of our existence, encompassing both our external experiences and our internal, emotional and psychological states. We can break down this concept into several layers. The literal cycle, the foundation at its most basic level. The day-night cycle is the fundamental rhythm of biological life. Day, a time for activity, work, social interaction, visibility, and using our senses to navigate the world. It's associated with energy, production, and consciousness. Night, a time for rest, recovery, solitude, introspection, and dreaming. It's associated with recharge, subconscious processing, and vulnerability. This biological imperative forms a template for all the metaphorical meanings. The metaphorical meaning, seasons of life. This is the most common interpretation. Days and nights represent extended periods of our lives characterized by distinct qualities. The day in a human life represents periods of clarity and confidence, when the path forward is illuminated and we can see our goals clearly. Growth and productivity, times of action, achievement, building careers, nurturing relationships, and outward success, happiness and joy, periods of contentment, love, celebration, and feeling connected to the world. Visibility and public life, when we are in the light, seen by others, and engaged with our community. Examples: landing your dream job, the early happy years of a marriage, a period of robust health, a time of great creativity and inspiration. The night in a human life represents periods of difficulty and struggle, times of loss, grief, failure, illness, or confusion. The path is dark, and the way forward is uncertain. Introspection and solitude, forced or chosen periods of turning inward to confront our fears, doubts, and questions. It's a time for deep thinking, not doing. Transformation and rest, just as seeds germinate in the dark soil. Our most profound personal growth often happens during these night seasons. We are broken down to be rebuilt stronger. The subconscious, when hidden fears, repressed emotions, and unexamined parts of ourselves surface to be addressed. Examples: the loss of a loved one, a period of depression or anxiety, a major professional failure, a serious illness, a dark night of the soul where one questions their faith or purpose. The philosophical and spiritual dimension. Many philosophical and religious traditions use this metaphor deeply. Stoicism, the concept of practicing virtue and resilience during times of night or hardship. They believed character is built not in the easy day, but in the difficult night. Christian mysticism. St. John of the Cross famously wrote about the dark night of the soul, a period of spiritual desolation and feeling abandoned by God that ultimately leads to a deeper, more mature union with the divine. Taoism. The concept of yin and yang is a direct parallel. Day is yang, active, light, masculine, and night is yin, receptive, dark, feminine. One contains the seed of the other, and they are in constant, necessary balance. Buddhism acknowledges the inherent suffering, dukkha, or night in life, and offers a path, the Eightfold Path, to move through it toward enlightenment, or a perpetual dawn. The cyclical nature, the key insights. The most crucial aspect of this concept is that neither day nor night is permanent. They are part of an endless cycle. Dawn follows the darkest night. This offers immense hope. No matter how difficult a period is, it will eventually change. A new day will come. Night always follows day. This offers humility and preparedness. Times of ease and success are not permanent either. Understanding this helps us appreciate the good times without taking them for granted and build resilience for the inevitable challenges. Conclusion. The purpose of the concept of days and nights in human life is not just descriptive, it's prescriptive. It teaches us to embrace the rhythm, to accept both phases as natural, necessary, and valuable. We cannot have growth without challenge, or rest without activity. Learn from the night, to not fear the difficult times, but to see them as periods of essential, painful transformation. The night is when we learn our most important lessons. appreciate the day, to practice gratitude and fully engage during periods of light and happiness, knowing they are precious, to trust the dawn, to maintain hope and faith during struggles, believing that a new day will eventually break in essence. The metaphor assures us that our lives are not a straight line of progress but a rotating cycle of contrasting experiences, each with its own purpose in shaping who we are. To live a full human life is to learn to navigate both the bright, expansive days and the dark, contracting nights with grace and wisdom.
How do various religions interpret the significance of day and night in human life and spiritual practice?
Christianity. In Christianity, the cycle of days and nights represents God's structured creation and the flow of divine care. From Genesis, where light is divided from darkness on the first day, this rhythm highlights divine authority. Days stand for enlightenment, grace, and themes of resurrection, such as the promised day of the Lord in Revelation, bringing judgment and renewal. Nights, by contrast, suggest periods of trial, spiritual struggle, or watchful prayer, as seen in Jesus' anguish in the Garden of Gethsemane. A verse from Psalms 32:5 beautifully sums it up. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Overall, this duality points to ultimate hope, envisioning an eternal day without night in the New Jerusalem, Revelation 21:25. Islam. For Muslims, the alternation of day and night serves as a profound sign of Allah's compassion and might, designed to inspire gratitude and a sense of responsibility. The Quran opens with "By the day and the night we have created you," Surah 76 ayat 1, linking it directly to human purpose and worship. The 5 daily prayers, or salah, are synchronized with these phases, starting with Fajr at dawn and ending with Maghrib at dusk, making the cycle a framework for devotion. Days encourage purposeful action and inner striving, while nights promote contemplation, seeking forgiveness, and special moments like Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power when the Quran descended. As Surah Al-Furqan, Surah 25 ayat 6 notes, He merges night into day and day into night. This teaches the unity of God, or through nature's seamless balance. Hindu thought expands days and nights into vast cosmic rhythms, intertwined with the endless cycle of birth, life, and rebirth. The sun deity Surya embodies the day's energy, vitality, and adherence to dharma, or righteous living, while the moon god Chandra rules the night, associated with illusion, Maya, and deeper self-examination. On an even grander level, the universe itself pulses through kalpas, immense days of Brahma, marked by creation and preservation, followed by nights of dissolution and repose that span billions of years. The Bhagavad Gita 11:32 portrays time as an eternal force that devours these cycles. Festivals like Diwali, celebrating light's victory over darkness, reflect how night's shadows give way to the illuminating wisdom of day, symbolizing good's eternal triumph. Buddhism approaches days and nights as fleeting expressions of impermanence, or anicca, underscoring the temporary nature of all things and guiding the journey toward awakening. In texts like the Dhammapada, days call for mindful ethics and engaged living, while nights offer space for meditation to uncover ignorance, or avidya. This rhythm mirrors dukkha, or suffering. Days' hustle can foster clinging, whereas night's calm reveals the interconnectedness of existence. In Mahayana practices, such as Zen, nighttime reflections through koans like "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" help dissolve dualities altogether. The ultimate aim, as the Buddha expressed in the Lotus Sutra, is nirvana, a state beyond. There is no night or day in the realm of the Tokakita Judaism. In Judaism, days and nights form the backbone of the covenant with God, starting in Genesis, where each creative act concludes with evening and morning, notably beginning with night to emphasize humility before the dawn's light. The Shema prayer, Deuteronomy 6-7, weaves this into daily life, urging recitation when you lie down and when you rise up. Days evoke divine revelation like the blazing light at Sinai, and vibrant community, while nights symbolize exile, faith-testing ordeals, or restorative quiet, as in Jacob's midnight wrestle, Genesis 32. Kabbalistic writings, such as the Zohar, describe night as a necessary descent that enables spiritual elevation, with Shabbat's enveloping night of rest harmonizing the cosmos. It all echoes the Jewish narrative of moving from darkness to light, especially during Passover's themes of liberation. Indigenous and other traditions across many indigenous faiths, like those of Native American peoples, days and nights embody a sacred equilibrium within life's interconnected web. For the Lakota, the Great Spirit, Wakan Tonka, interlaces days' communal energy and action with night's realm of dreams and ancestral whispers, fostering overall harmony through ceremonies like the sun dance. In ancient Egyptian lore, the sun god Ra's voyaged daytime across the sky as a symbol of life, and nighttime through the underworld as rebirth defeated chaos nightly, affirming renewal. Similarly, Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime tales depict ancestral creators establishing day-night as enduring laws of the land, where respecting this flow averts disharmony and sustains the world. These religious lenses often overlap in seeing the day-night cycle as a gentle instructor in equilibrium, inviting alignment with the sacred or the greater whole. If one tradition resonates more, or you'd like ties to modern interpretations, just say the word.
In Islam, Surah Yasin, Surah 36 ayat 3740 discusses the concept of day and night as part of the divine order, but it does not mention phenomena such as 6-month-long days or nights. These extended periods of daylight or darkness found in polar regions are not explicitly addressed in these verses.
Direct translation and context of Surah Yasin, Surah 36, Ayat 37-42 address your query. Let's first examine the specific verses from Surah Yasin in the Quran, which discuss the alternation of day and night as a sign of Allah's power and mercy. Here's a standard English translation based on Sahih International, with minor clarifications for clarity along with a brief exegesis tafsir to provide context. Ayah 37, and a sign for them is the night. We remove from it the light of day, so they are left in darkness. This highlights the transition from day to night, stripping away light to envelop creation in darkness for rest and reflection. Ayah 38, and the sun runs on course toward its stopping point. That is the determination of the exalted in might. The knowing this emphasizes the sun's precise, divinely ordained path, underscoring cosmic order. Ayah 39, and the moon we have determined for it phases, until it returns appearing like the old date stalk. This describes the moon's waxing and waning cycles, symbolizing renewal and the passage of time. Ayah 40, it is not allowable for the sun to reach the moon, nor does the night overtake the day, but each, in an orbit, is swimming. This affirms the fixed, non-overlapping orbits of celestial bodies, ensuring the regular succession of day and night. These verses poetically illustrate the rhythmic, harmonious alternation of day and night as deliberate divine design, or signs, inviting reflection on Allah's wisdom. As per tafsirs from scholars like Ibn Kathir, the language focuses on the daily cycle, night overtaking day and vice versa, in a balanced, predictable manner without reference to prolonged periods. Like 6 months of continuous day or night, does this cover 6-month days, nights, polar extremes? No. Surah Yasin Surah 36 ayat 37-40 does not explicitly or implicitly mention phenomena like 6 months of daylight followed by 6 months of night, such as those observed in polar regions, for example, the Arctic or Antarctic circles. The phrasing in Ayah 40, nor does the night overtake the day, stresses regular succession and balance in the 24-hour cycle, evoking the normative human experience of alternation. Classical tafsirs like Al-Tabari's tie this to the sun and moon's daily swimming and orbits, tailored to a 7th century Arabian audience familiar with equatorial-like cycles, not polar ones. The surah's overall theme in this section, IOTs 33-44, uses accessible natural signs, such as the earth reviving after death or ships on seas, to affirm resurrection and divine control. There's no linguistic or contextual allusion to polar extremes. From a scientific and phenomenological standpoint, Islam views the Quran as conveying general principles, mutashabihat, rather than a scientific textbook. Yet modern scholars like Maurice Buchal in the Bible, the Quran, and science note its alignment with astronomy, the orbit's phallic. In Ayat 40 prefigure heliocentric models without contradiction. Polar day-night arises from Earth's 23.5 degrees axial tilt and orbit, causing the sun to remain above or below the horizon for about 6 months at latitudes above 66.5 degrees. This doesn't overtake or disrupt the AI's described order. It's a variation within the global system of orbits. Contemporary interpreters, such as Nidhal Gesam, to argue that such phenomena further exemplify Allah's determination qadar in Ayat Ketiga Pulod broader Quranic and Islamic views on polar phenomena. The Quran doesn't directly address 6-month cycles elsewhere, but related verses reinforce a flexible, all-encompassing divine order. For instance, Surah Al-Qasas Surah 28 ayat 71-73 poses a rhetorical question. Say, have you considered if Allah should make for you the night continuous until the day of resurrection? What deity other than Allah could bring you light? This hypothetical continuous night illustrates extremes as tests of faith, though it's not descriptive of real polar events. Similarly, Surah An-Nazi'at Surah 79 ayat 29-31 describes cosmic unfolding, including spreading the earth and placing therein firmly set mountains, which some tafsirs link to Earth's tilt, enabling varied climates, including polar ones. In Hadith and fiqh Islamic jurisprudence, polar Muslims, such as those in modern settlements like Norway's communities, adapt prayer times using Qibla-aligned methods or the nearest non-polar cycle, as ruled by scholars like the European Fatwa Council. This reflects Islam's emphasis on intention naya over rigid literalism, accommodating the ayah's spirit without altering their core message. No major tafsir from Al-Qurtubi or Al-Razi interprets Yasiniyat 37-40 as covering polar extremes. Instead, they universalize it as evidence of resurrection's inevitability. In summary, while Surah Yasin 37 ayat 40 beautifully captures the essence of day-night as rhythmic signs of Allah's mercy, it doesn't extend to or reference 6-month polar durations. These are seen as harmonious extensions of the same cosmic laws, offering opportunities for deeper tafakkur contemplation if they challenge faith. If you'd like more on tafsir sources or related verses, feel free to specify.
Does Islam primarily address normal environmental conditions without accounting for exceptional cases like the polar regions where day and night can last for months? And is this limitation common across other religions as well?
Islam's approach to normal versus special situations through the Quran and Sunnah, Prophet Muhammad's teachings, primarily addresses universal principles and the normative human experience, such as the daily alternation of day and night in Surah Yasin Surah 3637. Ayat 42 make divine signs, ayat accessible and relatable. The Quran was revealed in 7th century Arabia, where equatorial-like cycles were the norm, so it uses those as metaphors for tawhid, God's oneness, gratitude, and moral reflection. However, it doesn't exclude special situations like polar regions. Instead, it accommodates them through flexible jurisprudence. For instance, verses like Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah Al-Ma'idah 6 on ritual purity use general terms when you rise from sleep, allowing scholars to adapt for extremes. For polar Muslims, fatwas from bodies like the Fiqh Council of North America or Al-Azhar permit estimating prayer times based on the nearest latitude or Mecca's cycle, prioritizing intention nature over literalism. Hadiths, such as actions are judged by intention, Sahih Bukhari, support this approach. In essence, Islam views the cosmos as unified under Allah's decree qada, so polar phenomena are special expressions of the same order, not contradictions. Scholars like Yusuf al-Qaradawi argue the Quran's generality invites *ijtihad reasoned effort for anomalies, ensuring equity. Thus, while it builds on normal situations as a foundation, it extends to special ones via interpretive tools, avoiding rigidity. Application to other religions. This pattern, focusing on normative experiences while adapting to exceptions, is common across religions. Though the mechanisms differ, most scriptures emerge from specific cultural or geographical contexts, like Mediterranean or tropical settings, using familiar phenomena for spiritual lessons. But traditions evolve to include outliers through oral law or communal rulings. In Christianity, the Bible emphasizes 24-hour days and nights as God's creation. For example, Genesis 1, Psalms 104 from 19 to 2:3, symbolizing providence and Sabbath rest, without addressing polar extremes. Early church fathers like Augustine saw such cosmic variations as divine mystery, and modern denominations like Anglican adapt liturgies in it. Christian communities, for example, use local solar cues for Easter timing via theological interpretation and ecumenical councils, such as Vatican II's allowance for cultural flexibility. Judaism's Torah defines days from evening to morning, Genesis 1 verse 5. Tied to Sinai revelation and festivals like Passover, assuming balanced cycles for halakha law. The Talmud, for example, Berakot 2a, discusses hypothetical endless days or nights, ruling prayer times by estimation, and polar Jews in places like Alaska follow Jerusalem's clock per Shabbat rulings. This is handled through rabbinic debate and responsa literature, as in Rav Moshe Feinstein's fatwas for high latitudes. Hinduism's Vedas and Puranas describe solar and lunar cycles for Yayana's rituals, with day as Surya's benevolence and night as cosmic rest, and Brahma's days spanning eons rather than daily ones. There's no direct mention of polar regions, but Dharma adapts regionally. Arctic Hindus might align pujas with equinoxes, and texts like Manusmriti allow local customs, supported by pluralistic exegesis and guru traditions that accommodate anomalies within yuga cycles. Buddhism's Pali Canon uses day-night for mindfulness and impermanence, like Satipatthana Sutta, focusing more on inner cycles than external ones. Tibetan Buddhism, practiced in high-altitude extremes, adjusts meditations for perpetual twilight without scriptural conflict, as phenomena are seen as empty shunyata. Adaptation comes from the doctrinal emphasis on interdependence, with Vinaya rules bending for skillful means upon, as taught by figures like the Dalai Lama. Indigenous traditions, such as those of the Inuit or Sami, often center on polar realities themselves. Sami yoic songs, for example, celebrate the midnight sun as spirit renewal and nights as ancestor communion, where normal is inherently local. There's no divide between special and normal. Instead, oral storytelling and shamanic revelation integrate anomalies as sacred balance across these faiths. Religions prioritize timeless truths like cycles as metaphors for life's dualities over exhaustive geography. Special situations are bridged by human agency, such as scholarly rulings, community consensus, or philosophical reframing, ensuring relevance without rewriting core texts. This shared resilience shows how faith evolves with the world it inhabits. If you'd like examples from a specific religion or how this ties back to philosophy or science, just say.
In conclusion, the concept of day and night, while a consistent and observable reality, is not a static one in religious thought. As we have seen, different faiths, from Islam to Judaism and Christianity, have integrated the cosmic rhythm of light and darkness into their core beliefs, using it as a symbol for divine creation, moral order, and the human condition. The presence of challenging situations, such as the unique day-night cycles of the polar regions, further demonstrates the adaptability and intellectual depth of these traditions. Rather than being confined to the geographical settings of their origins, religions have developed sophisticated legal and interpretive frameworks to ensure that their spiritual guidance remains universal and applicable to all. Thus, the continuous interplay of day and night remains a central and ever-evolving theme in the human quest to understand our place in the cosmos.